that property into the city too. But that's me. I'm not sure.
I'd like to withdraw my second. I think it should go back to the committee for further study.
Well, we had,
I want to look into some of these.
well, and I agree. You know, we had the public hearing last month, or at the last council meeting, and it was transferred over to the zoning committee, I believe, and they were to come back with a recommendation. We did hear from Clark, you know, and he had some concerns. That's why we did postpone it the extra month. My understanding was that, and I just looked back at the minutes, that you know, the plans were reviewed and it was indicated that it was mainly for vehicle storage. I wasn't aware that additional animal units were coming to the property. And at that time, we really didn't hear from very many of the neighbors.
Well, Mr. Mansfield would have to tell you about the animal units. I don't know anything about that. I don't know. You know, I was under the impression of the people that I did visit with that probably wasn't going to, the people I talked to, I think Jade indicated that he didn't know how he could say no, but I think that other people I talked to, Neil thought that he had talked to some other of you that it probably wouldn't pass, and that's why I wasn't here. You know, Clark's idea was, when I did talk to him after that meeting, I heard he was here, and he said, well, he wanted to know where the building was going to be. And then he said, well, gee, if it's clear down there in front of yours, that doesn't bother me as much as it would be in front of mine. Well, you know, that bothered me a little bit, I guess. You know,
Well, that's right. And Larry was here. I mean, there were some opposition. That's why we wanted to take a second look.
Sure.
And just, you know, I did talk to some of the neighbors that are closer that talked to me. And I brought that up last month too.
And what was their feeling?
They don't want it.
I guess the way I see it, it fits into the conditional use. You know, it really doesn't have anything to do with animals. I mean, what we're talking about is a building. And the way I see it, it falls right in line with what he's asking to do. And the committee met, we looked at the proposal, and I realize there's some concerns, but
we talked about last year, there's going to be a storage for feed and other things. I mean, there needs to be, if it does pass, in my opinion, it needs to have a few conditional uses, why it's there. And again, you know, years ago, you know, I've lived most of my life within 3 blocks of there. There's always a few horses up there, but they're never confined to what they are now. I know we're talking a building and this is something else, but they still go hand in hand. I mean, you know, I don't think you need that big of a building to store vehicles in. That's not my decision, you know, what's in it. You know, my biggest concern is, from the ones that I heard, and these are the ones that live to the east up there. Like I said, 3, I think there's, what is there, 4 or 5 houses. 3 of them contacted me, which I mentioned last month too. And again, they weren't at the meeting, but they just do not want that there. Their concern was, if they put it up and they clean up the thing, that's one thing. They don't bring any more stuff in. And there isn't any more animals in there. But, yeah, without any conditional uses, I'm not going to vote for it. I mean, there's got to be some restrictions on there. I'm not saying what those are. I think it needs to be very well thought out, because, you know,
I think we should back, we need to sit down and write down a conditional list we're going to put it up. Otherwise, I'll withdraw my second until we sit down and go over some of this and sit down and write the conditions. Just black on white.
I don't necessarily have a problem with that either. He withdraw, I guess.
Well,
We're debating.
We're debating to proceed.
Do you want to speak?
As I said a couple of months ago at our meeting, and then to the people that were on the committee up there, the building is used, plans to be used to mainly put my pickup and cars in if it storms, like it was going to storm the night that we were had the last council meeting, and also to work on a vehicle if I wanted to play with a vehicle. I'd have a building that I could put something in. Bob's keeping track of the animals real regularly. He forgot to take part in it. He's counted at least 10 less each month for the last year that I've owned, if he wants to keep track of every detail. And I don't want to say anything, but he can take his dog off my property from now on, and his cats if some of them are his. But they seem to have free run up there and have for 10 years. And I haven't complained to anybody. His parties and his picnics, they park up and down my driveway. That's always been okay with me and so forth. But and I don't want to get into a pissing match here. The building will improve my property. It'll improve the 16-foot high sidewalls are mainly to park my camper in. I've got a camper that is 14.8 or something tall, and that needs to have 16-foot high sidewalls to put it in. The building that I was talking about was 36 by 48. As far as built enclosed dimensions with kind of an overhead on each side of it to be able to drive partway and under, 12-foot overhang on each side. I don't know, has anybody got copies of those tonight again that we had?
I don't think they're in the minutes.
Okay.
Jack, I was speaking with the mayor on some procedural matters, and I didn't hear you. Did you say how many horses were on the property, or how many animals were on the
No,
property?
Actually, tonight I don't know. There is 8 of the older horses that I moved down to clean up the grass where I'm planning to put 35 new spruce trees. And I wanted to clean off the grass so we can pick up the tree branches in there.
But you don't know how many horses? were
And
there?
there's close to 20 head. The rest of them are colts that I'm in pasturing just for a little while here to get out to the pasture. They're only here a few months during the winter. This winter, because of the snow and the corn stalks, we couldn't really take anything out the corn stalks. This is the first winter that there's really been anything up there other than our weanling colts and a few older, something that needed fed, special fed. I would say 15 or something's been the average till this winter, and this winter I did have, because of the ice and the snow and not being able to get into it last fall, we had more out in the pasture there. Besides this building site, there's 27 acres involved here. And for the most part, they're out on the pasture other than these colts. And I have talked to neighbors. There's 2 of the neighbors come to McDonald's on Saturdays and Sundays when I'm up there, and they've talked to some of their neighbors. Nobody said one thing about it as far as I know. Clark is the only one, and now tonight this deal. But the building that I'm proposing is probably, I don't know, close to a block away from any residence. It's up behind a tree grove that I don't know for sure. I think the trees are taller than the walls of the building, but because the trees will be down just a little bit from the building, you're probably going to be able to see it for a few years till the cedar trees get a little bit taller. I don't know just how it would look from down below.
Well, what jurisdiction do we have on the livestock?
Well, if it's grandfathered in that direction,
But
I
is
think
there a
what-
certain number that's grandfathered in? Or, I mean,
only
we
what
had a
only what was
situation.
there at the time, and I think as Jack has said, the number currently, this is the first year that you said that you'd have this many, obviously exceeds your prior line.
No, I didn't know there was ever such thing as a limit.
What is
It's
it?
very vague.
On number, we've got some other lots that, we've dealt with. We've dealt with the one north of our building out there, NRD. And they were gonna move livestock in there. That's probably concerns me as much as anything is the drainage and, and Larry brought that up at the last meeting. That, it kind of
Really?
comes down to part of that.
Well, I mean, it's
But it all goes
Conditional use
together, it's an
building permit.
agricultural use. That's at least what it's being called, and we questioned that at the last meeting, was does it really fit that, and I'm still